welcome back. This is the video on the tune-up, off-season tune-up on an outboard motor. This is my off-season right now because of the warmer weather. The water's warm. I'm not able to fish as well, and this boat isn't quite set up for a lot of big family fun doing water sports and stuff. The motor's just not able to handle larger groups of people, but this goes over everything you need to know on a regular tune-up, what all I dealt with and everything. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe and like my videos if you enjoy it. Any comments, questions, critiques, anything like that, just put them in the comments below, and hope you enjoy. Alright, so first things first, we're going to take the cover off. Undo the latches, pull the top off. And mine are already labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you do have these labeled before you pull them all off, unless you have a way of keeping them located. I'm going to be doing a compression test first. That way I can see where my benchmark is. Alright, so I went ahead and loosened these up. Be able to take them out real easy. And we can take a look, see how the spark plugs are looking. Kind of dirty. And pull out each one. Take a look, see how they look. Alright, I got them all out right now. So I hooked up the scope, checked in the cylinders. The cylinder walls look great, nice shiny, no marks that I can tell. The pistons do have a lot of carbon buildup. This one was not too bad at all. That one had quite a bit of buildup. That one's completely covered, and that one's mostly covered with carbon buildup. Now, I did not get proper wide open throttle the last time I had this out, but I am probably gonna, I've got an extra can of gas. I'm gonna add some oil to it and put in some Seafoam and run that through here in the driveway and try and get this cleaned out some, see if that helps it. And I'll run it on the old spark plugs because they're looking a little dingy too. I finally have a little container for measuring out the oil, so I can make sure I'm putting the right amount of oil in now as well. But yeah, this is what the spark plugs look like right now. I got a brand new set, but I'm going to put these back in to run the Seafoam through, and then I'll put in the new set. So try and get the engine cleaned out first. Now I'll show the process on it later, after I do the engine clean out with the Seafoam. But right now I'm getting roughly, it looks like about 78 to 80 psi on every cylinder. I got to double check the specs, see what they're supposed to be, but we'll see how everything comes out as well on the retest after cleaning the motor out. So just like before, I've got all the plugs loosened, just to make it quicker here in the video. But I'm gonna go in with the scope first, check all the cylinders, and see how much it cleaned up. I didn't get it open to full wide open throttle because I didn't have it out on the lake, but it should have cleaned up a decent amount, and then we'll do a compression test. I know it's hard to see them. There's a light over here in this corner, but I did eat a lot of the carbon off the spark plug. Same situation on all the plugs. So for the compression test, what you're going to do is you have a compression gauge, compression tester. It'll come with different fittings for different size spark plugs. This is the one that I need. It screws right on here. And what you'll do, carefully thread it in. Till it's snug pretty good. And I'm actually going to sit it over here so I can set the phone up to show you. I'm going to give it a crank, let it spin a few times, and then we'll have our compression. Of course, it's got a pretty good kick to it, but yeah, sitting right about 80 still. And we'll just go down the line, do each cylinder. And we're snugged in. And of course, before you do each time, make sure you hit the reset button. Bring it back to 0 so you can get a clean read on the next cylinder. Getting right at about 80 on this one, on the second cylinder. Why you want to be careful threading it in. Sometimes they'll go crooked and you'll start cross threading. If you're doing it by hand, like say with a bolt, you're able to get it into the threads first before you cross thread it with a drill or impact. Alright, again, we're about 80, maybe 82 on this one. Later on, when I do the rebuild, I'm going to be replacing the piston rings anyway, and I think that's where I'm having my compression issue. Because it's still on the original rings. The block has never been cracked open. All right, time for the last cylinder. That's all the crank it needs. Right at about 80. So I got 80, 80, 80, 182, and then 80 on my 4 cylinders. Yes, I did look it up. Apparently that is low, but the important thing is they're across the board about the same. So that means I don't have a damaged cylinder. If you are interested in a compression test kit, this I got from Harbor Freight. It comes with a bunch of accessories. These are the different tips to screw in for the spark plug hole based off of what size spark plugs you have. Then it also comes with these straight and vent shaft nozzles that you can hook directly to this, depending on the application, such as like lawn mowers and so forth, or some of the bigger engines work great for these. But I got this for 30 bucks at Harbor Freight, so it's not a bad price. They don't cost much, and if you can get a new one, it's better than a used one or renting one, say from AutoZone, because the gauge does need to be recalibrated from time to time. So if you can get a new one, you know it's calibrated. I also have the new plugs installed. I'll look into the spark plug cables and getting them replaced here soon. Those are the original, I'm pretty sure, because they are the actual branded ones. But yeah, I'll look into getting these replaced with new ones so I can make sure I'm getting a nice hot spark to these plugs. But this is all the new ones installed. These in particular, make sure you pay attention to the box. It'll tell you how much of a turn it needs after you get it hand tightened. These, that actually says to crank them about a half turn after you get them hand tightened. So, because it has a crush ring on there for the seal. But yeah, make sure you check your spark plugs and that'll tell you how tight it needs to be. Another thing to watch out for, and mine doesn't have any of these warning signs, but check around the casing as well. Check for discoloration. Mine's just dirt and grime, which can wash off. But if you see discoloration in the plating of the head, then that's signs that you're dealing with overheating issues, and you'll definitely want to do a more intensive check. Make sure everything's getting proper water circulation. You're not running it without water running through. Check, make sure you don't have any blockages or anything. Now this motor has a couple actual grease nipples inside the motor as well. I got one down here, and I got one up here, and that's on the throttle assembly and ignition. Usually you'll want to put a little bit of grease. I got to get a lot of this cleaned out, but you want to put a little bit of grease on pivot points and so forth, just to help them continue to slide real easy. You just want to put just a little bit, not globs like what's up in here, but just a little bit, and wipe it around, and that'll help keep it lubricated, moving freely without too much dirt and dust buildup. This, on a lot of outboards, you also have your pivot tube for steering. This one's right here on this model of motor. You'll want it to actually push all the way out on the bottom and the top. Alright, so I got the motor tilted up so I can get in here and clean this stuff out. I've already filled my cavities right here for the steering tube. That's all done. I just got to clean all that extra gunk out, get rid of the old grease that's pushing out. Here I already cleaned it out, and this is all the new stuff that got pushed out. So I'll try and get that cleaned out. That's my new grease pushing out. So that didn't really have much in it at all, because it didn't push hardly anything black out. But that's my main points. I got a lot of that grease pulled out, so it's a little bit cleaner. But that's it on greasing. For those of you with tilt tubes that do not have a Zerk fitting at all, something you can do is squirt just a little bit in around the track. It does help if you have it tilted up too, for part of it, and then bring it down and finish going back around it. Just take a rag, shop towel or something, and push that grease down into the edges, just like so. And then afterwards, just go back and wipe up. That'll help keep dirt and debris out of your tilt tube opening. So just like that, and then go back, wipe down all your exterior surfaces, just to clean up afterwards. But that'll help keep debris out and help maintain that tilt tube. And of course, like I've said in the previous video, most neglected thing is your trailer. Every time you have a service done, the seasonal service on your motor, go ahead and grease your hubs as well, and that'll make sure that your bearings stay alive for as long as possible, help prolong the life. Alright, so here's a look after I scraped off everything, all the extra gunk from the grease. I'll get a nice clean look on there when I do the rebuild on the motor. But this is all cleaned out. I went over some of the more frayed wires till I can replace them with liquid electrical tape. They're not so much frayed as the insulation is just burning off over time. It was really old. But it'll cover it and help protect that until I do a replacement of some of the wires. And then on the other side, I also got I'll put on some of the wires around the coil and so forth. Main power coming in, relay, just to help make sure they don't make contact with anything. Alright, next I'm going to do the lower unit again. Last time was because it was sitting for so long. Now I'm going to check and make sure everything's operating correctly, and the seals aren't leaking. Make sure the fluid looks good. Alright, so I have it drained, or draining. Make sure you pull out the bottom one. Mine's at the front of the nose cone on this model. I've seen ones where it has it like over here and just in different spots. So your drain will be underneath though in some way, because you got your vent up top. When you fill it, you're filling it from the bottom up, and this will vent out, and then you'll cap it, take the plug off, put the plug in, and you're all set. This is looking kind of dirty. I think I was also cleaning up a lot of the crud from sitting for so long. So it's been about half a year since I did that. Go ahead and check it. I did pour some here on a rag. I'm going to check it here in the light. Let it drain out. Don't really see any metal shavings. Just dirty oil. It's not foamy at all. So I'm not having a leak anywhere that I can tell. Now normally on a service you'll also want to take the prop nut off and take off the propeller. You want to check the seal, make sure there's no fishing line or anything caught in there. So I'll be taking off the prop next. I might have a leaking prop shaft seal. I'll take a look at that after I get it on. I do have this off. I did take a look in here. There is oil, but I'm thinking it might be from the oil fuel mix when I was running it. Of course, it didn't get washed out. The seal looks fine. There's no real wobble or anything. It's in good shape. So what I'm going to do is get this cleaned off, put some grease on here, make sure the splines stay in good shape, and then I'll reattach everything. Got the reverse hub. Prop will go on next. That'll go on the splines. And you got your locking nut. This one takes this type of washer, and when you put it on, you'll tighten this down until it's snugged on pretty good, and you'll line up the tabs, and you'll put down 3 of the tabs, and that locks this model Mercury in. Alright, so I have the lower unit fluid replaced now. That is all finished. Got nice new fluid in there. I think I was cleaning out a lot of the gunk from it sitting for several years before I got it. So hopefully that fixes any issues with that, and my fluid starts coming back a little cleaner than it did. I have the motor all set to go. Everything's back together. For next time I have it out, I do plan on having it out a lot, so winterizing isn't as much of a priority for me. But normally what you do if you're winterizing, you'd get some fogging oil. You wouldn't have the covers on, you'd be spraying that in through the carbs, and that helps prep it for winter, making sure everything stays lubed up and doesn't rust and so forth. And then of course you want to make sure it's dried out as much as possible, let it lay down, be able to drain out and so forth. And that there's the tune-up process for mine. Like I said, I changed the spark plugs out. You don't have to do that every single year. Just these are the same ones that have been sitting in there since 2017, and I don't know how old they were before that. I wanted to go ahead and change them out, make sure I had some fresh spark plugs. Marine grease. Make sure you use marine grease, because that has inhibitors in there that keep the grease from breaking down when it makes contact with water. Also make sure you're using marine gear lube for the lower unit, because it does the same thing. It has the inhibitors in there, keep it from foaming up and destroying the gears. I did not do a water pump this time. You can check my previous video where I did the inspection on the unit. I replaced the water pump on there, showed how to do the lower unit fluid change, everything like that, and I'll provide a link in the description for that video. But she's all ready to go. Next steps are prepping the boat, getting it ready for fall fishing season. So I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one.